Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, I'm Alison Larkin, writer, comedian, narrator, and host of the Jane Austen podcast. Join me as we embark on a journey through Austen's timeless stories, starting with Pride and Prejudice. The Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello. In case you were unsure of where you are, this is Angel on Top, a podcast where we watch and give our sweet, sweet thoughts on Angel, one episode at a time, spoiler-free and working in tandem with Buffering the Vampire Slayer. I am Brittany Ashley.
Hey, I'm Laura Zach, and this week we're chatting about Season 1, Episode 2, Lonely Hearts. And be sure to stick around until the very end of the episode, at which point we will share this episode's original poem that we've written from the POV of Brooding Angel. But first, some housekeeping announcements.
Knock, knock. Housekeeping. We've got t-shirts. One to be exact.
We have our very first Angel on Top t-shirt available for purchase.
Yes, if you go to angelontop.com and go to the store section, you'll notice we have a really sexy shirt just waiting for your body to be inside of it.
Another thing that you can find on angelontop.com under the calendar is the full release schedule for our episodes. You'll also be able to see when buffering episodes come out. We are alternating week to week with them. And you'll also be able to check out the upcoming crossover episodes where we will get in on some buffering and vice versa.
Episode 2. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, great to have you here. Episode 2, Lonely Hearts, I'm very excited to talk about because I enjoyed the pilot episode, but I felt like there were, especially coming off of watching all of the first 3 seasons of Buffy, I felt like there was so much exposition and I didn't really get a sense yet of what is going to be new about this world building and the characters.
Just goes to show kind of like the growing pains of a spin-off show.
The spin-off is not necessarily going to be for everyone. It's not going to necessarily speak to someone who was passionate about the original. Hopefully a lot of people that love the original will carry over to the spin-off, but then also there's going to be new people.
There's actually a lot of people I've talked to who haven't watched Buffy and only watched Angel.
I know. They've been emerging for me as well, and I honestly did not know
They're coming
that
out
was a
of the
thing.
Angel closet to tell me their truth.
It's
because I think they
beautiful.
felt unsafe before, really.
Yeah, truly. And if some of you count yourselves among that tribe, please make yourselves known. Would love to hear more about that lived experience.
Hell yeah. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
excited.
So Angel is at his office in the dark, and he has this look on his face like, where did I go wrong?
He's technically sitting there brushing his forefinger lightly across his lips. I don't know if you noticed, like it was very, I feel like it was David Boreanaz's, someone being like, look introspective. And he's like, I believe I've seen statues where they're touching a single finger lightly to their chin. Like that's what he's doing, like that whole moment.
And we also don't know how long it's been since he essentially failed at his mission to save Tina. We don't know how much time has elapsed. So maybe he's been sitting there since.
Yeah, when Doyle comes in and interrupts him and snaps on the light and is basically like, a couple lookers like us, we should be out on a Friday night. Not, is basically like he's trying to intervene and pull Angel out of a depressed state. So I get the sense that I mean, at least long enough for Cordelia to make some business cards. I don't know. What's that? A week? Couple weeks?
Back in the early 2000s, late 90s, could have been a while. Could have been a year.
True. They have to hand paint those cards.
Yeah. And we also, in this scene, find out that Doyle is interested in Cordelia, though he knows absolutely nothing about her. Okay.
And also we see Doyle's penchant for leather on Paisley.
One interesting thing that comes up is that though Doyle likes Cordelia, she doesn't know that he's half demon. And do you think that this is something that he should disclose? I mean, Angel waited a pretty long time to reveal it to Buffy, and it came out in a very spontaneous way.
He didn't wait that long, though.
He waited 7 episodes.
I feel like with Angel and Buffy, it was a little bit more loaded for him whether or not to disclose, given that she is the Slayer. But in the case of Cordelia and Doyle, like, first of all, they don't have any inherent relationship that requires that she know more about his personal life and identity.
So what do you make of Doyle's vision? His dance club vision?
Well, first of all, it was interesting that it came up from Cordelia, like, playfully smacking him.
I feel like that was a coincidence.
You don't think that sent him spinning off into something? Like an inciting physical?
I think that visions just, like, come when they come, you know? They just kind of happen at inconvenient times.
Cordelia calls this out later, but I feel like his vision was pretty unhelpful. It got them to a bar/club called D'Oblique, which I believe is French
For oblique.
and
For dat
or
oblique.
of the obliques. I listened to that episode of Buffering where they guessed that I know French and you know Latin.
Yeah.
Yep, they were right. But I feel like his visions are a version of last episode of Angel on the library computer conveniently typing in murders young women and finding exactly what he needed to find. It's just sort of like, hey, I have this general vibe, so let's go to a nightclub and see if anyone needs help or if anyone's in a poor spot, which honestly, I would say that 80% of the women in that nightclub need help.
Oh, absolutely. Why anyone would go to a huge dance club by themselves is entirely beyond me.
And I noticed they made a point of showing that there were a lot of actual singles there. Like, there were people approaching each other. There was this one little moment where you see this woman sitting alone kind of sadly, and this man walks up and then asks to take the one remaining stool from her table. And she's just like, yeah, sure. It was a really kind of brilliant extra moment. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it seemed like a real place to see and be seen.
Yeah, I guess it's pre-Tinder, you know? We had to use Craigslist.
I never used Craigslist.
One of us had to use Craigslist.
Did you really meet someone from Craigslist?
Unfortunately.
Did you date them?
I got fingered by them. That was it.
Where?
This was like 8 years ago.
That wasn't that many years ago, to be honest.
That was nearly a decade ago.
Wait, so what did the ad say?
Okay, I worked on a newspaper. I was starting this like expose on how to date when you're a queer woman, because this was, again, pre-Tinder, pre all this shit. And so I had to find the different ways that you could meet women.
So it was research.
I got fingered for research.
Honestly, there are worse reasons. Okay. So the vision brings them to Dublique, and we see...
I believe it's D'Oblique.
Okay. We get to D'Oblique, and there's another nondescript blonde woman sitting at the bar. We see a dude named Kevin hit on her, and he says, God, I hate places like this, don't you?
Good move.
Cut to opening creds.
By the way, the bartender at the bar is a familiar face.
Yeah, he looks real familiar.
He's Bodie from Dawson's Creek. I am very deep in a DC rewatch, and he's a great character.
Wow, look at all your worlds.
Yeah.
Crashing together.
My worlds are crashing together like waves on a sweet, sweet ocean.
So this episode is filled with a lot of kind of like on the nose, cheesy singles just meeting for the first time dialogue, but somehow it gets away with it. It happens multiple times. It happens in this first exchange between Kevin and Sharon, and it happens later with Kate and Angel, where people are meeting each other and going pretty deep right away into their own interpersonal failures, into their own, fears of being alone. Like that, they really hit the themes of loneliness and trust and rescuing, people needing rescue in this episode. And what kicks it off is this little exchange with Kevin and Sharon. And it's one of those things where, like, when the guy is saying a little bit too much exactly what you want to hear, he's probably a demon. But Sharon is buying it, and they end up leaving together. So the trio rolls in and is like, look for someone who might be in trouble or someone who's about to cause it. And again, that could not be more vague about a packed club.
But then we see another woman sitting at the bar. She's engaging him in conversation. And Angel flat out says, I'm just looking for someone to rescue. And she's kind of like, trouble, am I right? Kate has weird conversational skills where she'll like say something and then she'll take it back immediately and be like, I'm so dumb. I'm sorry. I'm so weird.
She's so self-deprecating. But also is doing that thing I was talking about before of like going too heavy too soon. It was like we're maybe seeing in this moment why it hasn't worked out for her.
Right. She's like, yeah, I've
men.
got trust issues. What am I saying? LOL.
She's like, yeah, I kind of gave up on finding my knight in shining armor. But check out this international house of posers. Am I right? Anyway, I'm just a hypocrite slut. You're so right. It oscillates between like womp womp. Anyway, this guy.
It's like she's doing a one-woman show or something at a black box theater.
But randomly, they do have chemistry in this scene.
Yeah, because Angel doesn't have to say anything and she's already hit like 10 points.
She is socially awkward in kind of a similar way that he is. I mean, they have different goals in this moment. She's hitting on him and he genuinely just wants to know if she's okay. I feel like they are both kind of the same sort of conversational alien in this world.
Okay, so I think that Dobleek is this series the bronze because the sexiest song is playing by Kathy Soche called Do You Want Me? It also could be Kathy Sos, but I just don't know if I should give a hard C or not. And while this like sexy ass song is playing in the background, Kate asks him what he does for a living. And he says he's a vet.
Ernarian. And then she just said the thing about like, oh, if a man likes animals, you can trust him. And then goes into a whole thing about trust.
Right, yeah. She's a blonde that doesn't trust people, a.k.a. his type.
She's like, you know what? I'm just trying to make a connection. And the more I come to places like this, the harder it gets. And they just have this like incredibly annoying exchange, which is funny because in my memory of watching this when I was a child, I was really into Kate, and I don't necessarily remember this scene, but I do remember her impact on me at the beginning of this show, and I was super into her. And now, yeah, she's just a little bit more insecure than I remembered, like already seemingly attaching something to this person that she knows nothing about. And she says
anxious attachment. We know a lot about that.
Oh yeah, we sure do. But she makes this point about modern dating where she's kind of like, no one comes in here and just shows you right off who they really are. But honestly, girl, do you want that?
Yeah. Do you want Dobleek to be a place where everyone's honest with each other? No. You go to Dobleek to get nasty, to get sweaty, and to leave with someone that you're never going to talk to again. That is what
likely, yes.
Dobleek exists for, okay?
Let's be real about it.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
Let's call it Dobleek.
But also, even if you make a connection there that lasts for more than a night, ever heard of a honeymoon period? Ever heard of the passion before learning all the shit? She's basically saying, hey, can we fast forward through all the good parts and just let me know the things that are going to disappoint me? No, thank you.
So then Cordelia and Doyle are off on their own, and Cordelia is kind of giving her observations about everyone, but she says that the one person that she can't figure out is Doyle. But while they're talking about the visions, some gross dude comes up to Cordelia, who is handing out business cards, and hits on her, and Doyle tries to stick up for her, but the guy calls him probably my favorite insult that I've forgotten about. You wipe.
It's a really good one.
I'd like to bring it back.
Yeah, let's do it. Cordelia handles herself beautifully in this moment. She is speaking up for herself against the guy who is basically insinuating that she's a sex worker and that the business cards were advertising her body. But she also handles herself when Doyle tries to step in and be like, hey man, she's with me. And she's like, no, I'm not. Like, again, all of these people not realizing that she came from Lawndale. Like, she's gonna
Lawndale? Sunnydale. Oh my God. Worlds colliding.
Sorry, got my iconic high schools mixed up.
But when Doyle headbutts this dude, unfortunately, it breaks up Angel and Kate's conversation where she does the classic move. Do you want to go someplace more quiet?
And Angel does the classic move of, no, I gotta stay here.
Classic.
So as soon as Angel's done with the fight, he's hit on by a redhead, bizarro 90s version of Emma Roberts. And she's very forward. And Kate looks on with her baby blues.
And Angel is asking this chick, so, like, do you need, like, help being saved or something?
Do you, like, need to be rescued?
Then we go back to Sharon, and she slept with that dude. And that guy is like, I'd just like to hold you.
And it seemed to be bad because they're staring at the ceiling. When he, like, does hold her, it's the most awkward, resigned spooning I've ever seen. It's like there's this sigh and she looks really uncomfortable. Like that sex must have been very bad.
The interesting conversation that they have when they're at the table is that Cordelia is talking about how it was easier to date in high school because they all had something in common, aka being monster food, but being out in the world, it's really hard to connect with people. And then Cordelia does the unintentional zinger of, well, I guess the single life is particularly hard on you, Angel, because you can't sleep with anyone. So maybe he's got the loneliest heart of all.
Definitely.
Because he can't even have these empty one-night stands like these people can.
It's so hard to track his eroticism.
I get that.
You know, like I don't know that I've observed what arousal looks like in Angel outside of him loving Buffy.
Well, I think that for him, what he looks for more is perhaps the security because he can't feel that very often. And I think with Buffy, on top of, you know, having this like physical attraction to each other, I think that he felt secure more than anything. That's what made him feel safe enough to be vulnerable to have sex. It's not like super passionate, lusty sex. It's like when you're in love with the person and it's like safe and secure and
right. It's the more sustainable version of that. It's not the thing that just like burns out. It's the thing that you can keep around.
But then we get the little twist that maybe Sharon isn't the victim.
No, we see Sharon looking fine and Kevin looking dead. Turns out being a big spoon isn't all it's chalked up to be.
So Angel decides that he has to go back to Dobleek to find the next victim. And what do you know? Angel and Kate run into each other outside the club, which says Kate is thirsty, right?
Well, she already admitted that she comes to this bar most nights because she doesn't know how else to meet people. But they have, it's sort of this beat of a moment for a fresh start between them. Angel apologizes for being kind of a jerk the night before, which I didn't really think he was a jerk, but whatever. It was still nice of him to acknowledge her feelings. And then she's kind of like, okay, well, why don't you buy me a drink now and we'll start out on a new foot. And then he's, you know, ruins it by being a weirdo again and is like, yeah, well, actually don't go in there. And then reveals that he is going in there and she's like, okay, fuck you, I can go wherever I want and you can go to hell, which was obviously a setup for all of us to enjoy.
Totally, for him to be like, yeah, been there.
So Angel, being real awkward, goes in anyway after Kate and sort of sits 4 seats down from her, and she looks at him like, fuck this guy, and then turns to the lady to her left to be like, men, am I right? And lady to the left is hot Sharon looking spruced up by Parasite. And then we see this kind of douche nozzle walk up to the bar, and we learn through him that Sharon has been hanging out with this new guy, and Angel learns her last name and
so
runs
obviously
to the old phone book.
Because that was something that you could do. And Kate is suspicious of him. Meanwhile, Cordelia and Doyle are researching which demon it could be. And Cordelia says something along the lines of, demons, could they be any more disgusting? And that makes Doyle not want to tell her any more than he didn't want to already.
She didn't make it safe for him to open up.
When we see Sharon bring the new person back, the new dude back, we find out that it's not Sharon. It is a demon, a parasitic demon that lives inside of her that is transferring to new bodies via sex. And this is basically the premise of the film It Follows. Did you ever
I've
see
never
it?
seen that, no. But here's the thing. This demon is not passed through sex. They say later that it requires like the exchange of fluids, but we see that's not true. We see it happen at least once where it doesn't require any sex.
That part was confusing to me, though.
Okay, we'll get to that. But also, it seems very unfortunate that parasitic demon that requires sex or seems to prefer sex in order to do its thing is so bad at sex. Because the 2 cases in a row that we see the couple postcoital before the attack happens look miserable, and I'm so confused about what happened.
Well, it's possible that because the parasitic demon only wants sex and the goal is to just have had sex and it's not about the act itself, that perhaps they're not a very good lover.
Ah, it's a destination, not the journey type
yeah.
lover.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The worst kind.
But I mean, both look disappointed. I don't know why, like, the one that's possessed, like, why wouldn't the one who's possessed be like, no, it was actually fine, let me hold you? You know? Like, they still...
That makes sense. It's been a little off balance. But I think that's mainly just to, throw us off the trail.
Another thing I thought was interesting was that every time it alternates, it goes with a heterosexual pairing.
It's incredibly heteronormative.
No, but know what I realized? That actually means that the demon itself is bisexual or pansexual.
Unless it takes on the sexual preference of the body it inhabits.
Interesting point.
I think a lot about parasitic demons and their sexual preference. Some would say it's where I got my degree.
Oh, you keep talking about your exes every episode. Parasitic demons.
I get it.
Come on.
Nice.
Get there faster.
So Angel walks in and discovers that it is, in fact, moving bodies. He fails to apprehend the demon. However, Kate shows up and sees Angel in the compromising position of being in the room with an eviscerated Sharon. And this is not the first time that Angel's had to explain to someone, oh, no, I didn't kill this person. Like, I literally just walked in here and this is what happened.
And Kate's like, no, I'm not just a civilian. I'm a cop, bitch.
Freeze.
I'm an emotionally available, self-deprecating cop. And I think this is why I had the childhood feelings about Kate, because of my obsession with Dana Scully. I was like, the badge.
So Doyle and Cordelia return home, and he sees that Cordelia's apartment is a total trash heap. One part that I did, however, like about Cordelia's apartment is that when Angel shows up at the door, she has to invite him in. But before she invites him in, she says, like, I hope that you're not going to turn evil again. So they're teasing the idea to the audience that Angel could turn into Angelus again. And they want us to remember that.
Ooh, God, I really remember nothing. So I don't even know.
Who can say?
You probably can.
No, I can't. Because Angel is going back to Dobleek to find this burrowing demon that's preying on lonely people. And yes to this fucking song. I swear to God, this soundtrack is killing it.
My God.
Touched by Vast.
I looked it up too. Honestly, I haven't had Shazam on my phone for freaking months. I re-downloaded it just to get the name of the song that gave me so many memories. And it gave me like a visceral pleasure. And I really liked how it almost became like a music video.
Oh, yeah.
Where they
like
just
the
let it
montage.
play. They were like, let that one roll. And it was just the montage of Screech, the like nerdy guy hitting on a new woman.
Kate breaking into Angel's apartment.
Angel creeping.
The demon is transferred to a new woman again. Obviously, still a heterosexual demon.
We see her looking resolved and also hot.
And then Angel calls Detective Kate Lockley. Wait, or is it Officer Kate Lockley? Is she a detective or an officer?
Ooh. I'm going to go with detective. Detective on detective.
But the thing that he says to her is, just trust me. Meet me at Dobleek. And do you want to hear a cool little fact?
Yes.
So originally, David Fury, who wrote the episode, wrote a darker script called Corrupt. And in that script, Kate was undercover but working as a prostitute.
And then they edited it for her to not be.
Correct.
Okay.
That this was like a draft of this episode. And also, I guess there was a part in the script where Angel licks blood off of a murder victim. And apparently, copies of this script are floating around online.
They're just floating out there.
Is this a good time for...
For what, Brittany?
I think this is a good time to not only have our segment Fuck Watch, but to also discuss our segment Fuck Watch.
Yeah, I think it's a great time for that, mostly because I just want to make a connection with you all. Just want to feel heard.
Let's go somewhere quiet.
We just wanted to touch base.
So for those of you who don't know, or this is your first time listening, Fuck Watch is a segment in which we discuss which character from the episode that we are most attracted to or most drawn to. And
why.
Yeah, and why.
And before we get into Fuck Watch for this episode, we just wanted to address a little bit of feedback we received. While many were on board, it seemed that few expressed discomfort with the blunt, direct discussion of sex and interpreted our discussion as possibly objectification or a version of misogynistic practices that we work to overcome in our work and lives.
Yeah, which we think this invites a really interesting conversation about sexual desire and respect. Like, is talking about wanting to fuck someone inherently anti-feminist or patriarchal? We don't think so. We actually think that it's pro-feminist to acknowledge and name these desires. And as women, especially, we shouldn't have to choose between virtue and lust because that's patriarchal, yo.
If we are going to reject that it's anti-feminist to talk about wanting to fuck someone, which we are, it begs the question, how do you talk about attraction and physical desire in a way that's not disrespectful and is not objectifying to the person or demon that's generating the desire in you? We want to be clear that implicit in the Fuck Watch is enthusiastic consent. We are not ever going to be gratuitous or vulgar. We're going to have very specific subjective reasons for whoever our answer is. For example, last week, you may have noticed it was based on emotional vulnerability and a love of tattoos. You're never going to hear us talk about that ass, though.
Or those tits.
No. Ew. Just you saying that made me highly uncomfortable.
I know. I want to remove myself.
But that being said, loving breasts and being attracted to breasts is okay. And it's healthy.
Listen, we're both sexual beings and we're going to talk about sex on this show. And if that's not for you, that's totally okay. We're going to make sure to make creative choices that say more about, our own turn-ons than the characters themselves.
And I also think like another thing to keep in mind is that the way that queer audience participation has been involved in pop culture for a long time. And before there were so many actual out queer characters in the media we consume was in the form of shipping characters together, especially same-sex couples, in, currently in standing characters. I don't know. Can stan be standing?
I don't know. Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. And in writing fanfic, writing erotic fanfic. And also, all of these are ways that we project our own desire and sexuality onto fictional characters.
Like, when was the first time that you did that?
It would be with Dana Scully, but it didn't necessarily manifest as like, it certainly didn't manifest at the time as like, I want to have sex with her. It manifested as I, want to be saved by her from the cigarette smoking man and be on the verge of death and her be hovering over my hospital bed, super worried, holding my hand. And I had a similar feeling about Diana Troy in Star Trek: The Next Generation. I was just like, I wanted to be on the ship and her to be worried about me and like maybe hug me a lot.
See, that's interesting because mine was always about wanting to do the saving, which makes obviously a ton of sense if you look at my track record of trying to make emotionally damaged women fall in love with me. But for me, I connected most with Buffy because on some level, my attraction to her was wanting to be her. I wanted to save other people.
That was me and Gwen Stefani as well. It was
You
like,
wanted to save Gwen Stefani?
no, I wanted to be her.
Oh,
I was
got
like,
it.
I'm so confused. Do I want to like be her best friend or be her? Which I think that is a common experience of young queer women, like that confusion of like, where does the other person begin? Where do I end in my idolizing and affection and admiration for them?
Right.
So all of this to say, all of this is larger context for the ways that we, in more like subtle, indirect ways, project our sexuality onto the canvas of fictional worlds. And all we're doing here is being honest about it.
And if the word fuck is a turnoff for you or it makes you uncomfortable, just think about it this way. It's an acronym for flirting, understanding, consent, and kissing.
So let's
Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life. I talked to acclaimed director and executive producer Roland Emmerich,
When I saw the first race, I was like giddy.
actor Ewan Ryan,
For an actor, that's a dream, although you do get a lot of sand in your sandals.
and so many more.
You helped summon those ghosts back onto that stage.
Every day when I went to set, I was giggling about like what I saw.
I think it's going to be a breathtaking thing.
People will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Laureau, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth. Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
get into it. Okay, it may be a little boring. I may have already alluded to it. But for me, it's Act 3 Kate. I'm not so much, I mean, it's not that I'm not into her beforehand, but I like when the complexity of what she's got going on is revealed. You can tell at the beginning that there's more than meets the eye. And you can tell that she's intelligent, and you can tell like she'd be down for some witty banter.
And then take it immediately back and then be like, I'm so dumb, LOL.
Exactly. Then when she reveals that she is a powerful boss cop lady, yeah, I'm down with that. And also I find her to be really pretty. Yeah, how about you?
Well, see, mine is not actually a character that you see. However, for my fuckwatch choice, it's whoever the DJ is at Dobleek. They play a lot of great music, and I am very into sex playlists and very into setting the mood. And I feel like whoever the DJ might be deserved to really reap the fruits of their labor.
Oh my God. Now I'm not going to be able to get the thought of you having sex to Bast's classic hit Touched.
It's in the genre of like sexy, scary songs that I like. Like if it could be in the opening credits to like a movie about witches, like that's probably one of my favorite songs. Oh God, that feels great. I feel vastly touched.
She just came back from meeting up with the DJ for a super consensual, lovely date, and she has a glow.
So we're back at Dobleek. Kate is by herself, and the bartender who we've come to know and trust even dare to say that Kate has learned to trust.
He comes up and tells her that Angel, who she's been looking for, is outside in the alleyway, and it interrupts her talking to this vamp-looking dude
who might be one.
Yeah, I mean, and he definitely did not have good intentions. I don't know that his intentions were parasitic or blood-sucking, but there was something wrong there. So she goes with the bartender and heads out into the alleyway. But watch out, Kate. Here comes a wine bottle to the back of your head.
See, but this is the confusing part, okay?
Yeah.
So if the parasite can only be passed through sex, does that mean that he was... I mean, it's clear that he was trying to assault her in some way, but what did he get from her that allowed that parasite to come out? I know that there was like some moment where he like tried to like rip open her shirt or something. So is it just like arousal?
Skin to skin.
Skin to skin, yeah.
Like a little baby. Okay, that wasn't meant to be a weird thing.
Skin to skin like a little baby.
No, it is confusing because it's like if it doesn't actually need sex for it to work, then why have all the bad sex? And then furthermore, it seems more so what it needs is spooning than sex. And is it just because it feels like, oh, the only way to get someone to like be okay with being spooned is having sex first?
Cut out the middleman.
Yeah, or possibly the parasite is asexual. Like it doesn't necessarily want to have sex. It just feels like it needs to do it to get to the part where it can travel.
Well, I sure hope that the parasite becomes a YouTuber and vlogs about what their sexuality is.
I know the amount of time we have focused on their identity, their sexual preference, and I know I haven't even thought about gender.
The bartender goes back in and is trying to hit on girls, but he's clearly like covered in blood, and
part of his face is hanging off.
His forehead is coming off. He's decaying. But it sounds like there is like this element of him being on the clock of having to find a new body.
Yeah, he's desperate.
So he is doing anything he possibly can to what am I saying? The parasite, they are trying to find a way to transfer into a new body at any cost.
But they still just hit it so hard over the head, the theme, where you see this demon walking around desperately, bleeding from the chest, face hanging off, being like, I just want to talk to somebody, open up, make a connection, and then ending with, I just want to hold you.
But how about we fast forward to the fight where Angel throws him into a trash can fire, and that's what causes him to die. I do not think that it is the gunshots eventually that Kate thrusts his way.
I feel like you phrased that as if like, and someone better even try to challenge me. You were like, I have a strong position on his exact cause of death.
Because I also think that Angel wouldn't tell Kate that her bullets were the things that killed the parasite. I don't think that Kate realizes that it was something supernatural. I think she just thinks that it was the one bartender who's a creepy guy who went and killed all these people.
She's still very much in her logic normie brain.
Yeah. How are they ever going to work, you know?
Well, she has to find out the truth about him first. She wanted him to just come out with it at the beginning.
So we do see a love connection. Could a vampire and a cop ever work? Hell if I know. Been there.
And then this sort of making up forgiveness scene, the peacemaking moment, happens in one of Angel's favorite locations to stare at women,
next
under
to fire
the lights of ambulances.
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've watched him disappear into a sea of fire trucks.
Right, and that felt intentional. And Kate thanks him for saving her life. She wants to, again, this is maybe the third or fourth time she wants to start fresh with him. And to have no secrets. Again, girl, careful what you wish for. She wants to move real fast, this Kate.
So she's just one of those emotionally available straight chicks?
Listen, we're all flawed. I just think that Kate is searching for something in a place that she knows she won't find it. And that says a lot about her. She has said multiple times, the answers I seek are not here in Dublique. Oh, excuse me. But, you know, she knows that, and yet she keeps doing it. And I think that Angel for her is the new element.
Yeah, it's a disruption in the ordinary.
So she's not going to be able to stay away. I can say that much for sure.
So wait, let me ask you this. Do you think that she was only at Dobleek for her job? Like she was trying to track down a predator? Or do you think she was going on her off time?
My interpretation is that she was going on her off time.
My interpretation is she was doing it for the job, but secretly was also doing a little bit for her.
So was her whole persona
faked?
It was. Whoa, that makes her a lot more interesting. The whole persona of like her self-deprecation and do you come here often thing?
That's how I interpreted it. I interpreted it as if like she was trying to do exactly what Angel was trying to do, was to try and find the predator. So in a moment, she thought that it might be him, and that's why she was so interested in him.
So that also might be why they were both awkward in analogous ways, because they both
100%.
Were not actually there for the reason they said they were going to be there, which makes it ironic that she was demanding the truth and demanding like full transparency from him
when he shouldn't even trust her intentions.
That's up a mirror, Kate. I like that. I didn't read it that way, but
is she still your choice?
That makes her more so my choice. Honestly, if with that interpretation, I would change my vote to Act 1, Kate.
Wow.
Because then it's like she's also acting and like there's a whole other dimension there. I also had a question. At the end of the ambulance scene, does she still think he's a vet?
It's hard to tell with her. It's hard to tell what's a joke and what isn't.
What an enigma.
And you know that you can't ever pick her again.
I know. I did think about that, but the fact that I had such a sentimental feeling about her just made me need to get it out of the way real quick. It was like seeing an old friend, just like Cordy was last time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this episode ends with perhaps the personally most relatable scene I've yet seen in either Buffy or Angel. Like I felt it in my bones. And this was Angel awkwardly asking Cordelia and Doyle if they want to like go out or do something social together. And Cordelia says, or we can go home. And Doyle says, and you can sit alone in the dark. And then Angel's like, God, yes, thank you. And they just leave him alone in the dark, which just is such a reprieve when your friends allow for isolation. Why? What is that in us? Even when it's someone that you deeply care about and look forward to seeing and spending time with.
I think it has a lot to do with our lonely heart.
No, I'm not going to let you get away with that as the ending. Literally, Brittany said that and then sat up like to press the stop record button, which is the equivalent of like the mic drop. Like nothing else needs to be said after that.
Great. End it your way then.
No, I don't want to like put some big pressure on the way we end it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My roommate's dating an exorcist. So it'll be really interesting to see. They just started dating last week. So, you know, I think that's also going to be part of the journey of this show.
That is a really great way to end it. You're right. Thank you for listening to our voices. My name is Brittany Ashley. You can find me at Brit27Ash, and you can look at all my stuff on my website, BrittanyAshleyFunny.com.
And I'm Laura Zach. You can find me at Laura Zach on Instagram, at la_wa on Twitter.
We're at Angel on Topcast on Twitter and Instagram. You can leave us a review on iTunes. And hello, remember that shirt that I talked about? You could have that shirt.
You can have it.
Lonely Hearts. Another Avenger the evening, spent in dark solitude. Why venture out among the drunkards and lewd? Redemption's allure and vague visions from Doyle are the temptations that pull me from my immortal coil. Thank hell I was blessed with this ageless face. I know nothing of charm. My words have no grace. Disconnected young mortals in this inferno d'oblique, these precoital souls hold the answers I seek. To make love with no damage I can't grasp nor fathom, as I'm cursed to never know. A lifetime of self-damnation for a night of fixation, this lust I must forgo. Scouring the titillated bar for my parasitic outcast, I can't help but notice, is this touched by vast? I burn the chest worm as it meets its fiery fate, yet it's craving a warm body. I tragically relate.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Laureau, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth.
Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural then and now.